6 people, 6 bears, 6 endings that could not be more different, and almost none of them came down to luck. Over the next 6 cases, all of them real and all of them documented, we are going to stand in the few feet of ground where a person met a bear up close. We will look at what the animal was actually trying to do, what the people did right, what they did wrong, and what the medical reports and wildlife investigators concluded once the dust settled. This is not here to frighten you. It is here to make you understand. Because a bear defending itself, a bear that has lost its fear of people, and a bear that is simply starving are 3 different animals wearing the same fur. Knowing which one is standing in front of you is the whole game. 60 miles up a remote river in interior Alaska, on a July morning in 2025, the willows in front of TerBeek come apart, and a grizzly boar is already inside 10 yards, coming hard and low. His hand goes to the pistol against his chest before he has decided to move. A Glock Model 20 and 10 millimeters, holstered high where a hand can find it, not slung on a pack where it might as well be back home. A step to his left, his partner, Andy, is already firing. The bear does not slow. At a dead run, a grizzly closes 10 yards in under a second, and this one covers the last of it, drives Brett onto his back, and comes down on top of him. He is pinned under its weight now, firing straight up into its chest while it works at his head and his arms. The smell of it is on him and the sounds are all wrong. The huff of the animal, the flat cracks of the 2 pistols, his own voice. Andy stays on his feet a few yards off and keeps shooting into it. Neither man stops pulling the trigger, and for several long seconds the bear takes round after round and keeps working, as if the bullets are not landing at all. There had been almost no warning. This was a boar with nothing on its bones, lean, hungry, the kind of animal that reads a man as an opportunity instead of a threat. And it had come without the huffing and false charges that usually buy a person half a second to think. It came out of the brush at a run, close, already committed. Both men were experienced, and the one thing working for them was where their pistols rode. On their chests, in reach, in the single second a charge allows. That was why Brett's hand found his the instant the willows moved, and why Andy was firing before the bear finished closing. This is where people misunderstand what a bullet does. A hit is not an off switch. A grizzly running on adrenaline can absorb wound after wound and keep its feet, because the things that finally stop it, blood pressure, the central nervous system, structural bone, take time to fail even when the rounds are landing. In a sense, a charging bear is already dying and does not know it yet. Chemistry and momentum carry the animal forward for seconds after the wounds that will kill it are already made, and those few seconds are the whole fight. The 2 men were using heavy 10mm loads built for exactly this, hardcast and premium bullets chosen to punch deep and break through, not to expand and stall in muscle. Of the 16 shots, 13 connected. 1 struck the head and neck. 1 broke the bear's front teeth. Something like 10 went into the chest and ribs. 1 caught a front paw, and still it took until roughly 5 yards, a body length from where it started, for the animal to go down. Look at what actually worked, because it is worth learning. They kept their heads. Under a charge, the instinct is to fire once and freeze, or to turn and run, which is the surest way to die. Instead, each man stayed on the bear and kept pressing the trigger until it stopped moving. Their calm was not luck. It was the product of people who had rehearsed staying calm. The gun choice mattered too. Deep penetrating rounds that reached the vitals rather than stopping in the surface. And the holsters mattered most of all, because the fastest reload and the best cartridge in the world are worthless if the pistol is somewhere you cannot grab in the 1 second you have. When it was over, both men were unhurt. Not a scratch. It looks clean. It was not clean. It was 2 trained people, armed correctly, carrying correctly, doing everything right. And even then, the bear died at arm's length. Change 1 variable, a jam, a fumbled draw, a pistol on a pack strap. And this is a very different story. They spent about 4 hours skinning the animal and turned the hide and skull over to Alaska authorities as the law requires. Practical takeaway. A handgun is not a magic wand against a grizzly. It is only as good as your ability to draw fast and keep hitting a moving target at contact distance. If you carry one in bear country, carry it where your hand already is, on your chest, not in your pack. And understand that stopping a charge may take every round you have. Far to the southeast, in the subarctic bush of northern Saskatchewan, a 22-year-old student walked out of camp alone at dusk, toward ground where the local animals had been fed at a dump until they forgot to be afraid of people. Kenton Carnegie decided to take a short walk alone, out past the edge of camp in the last gray light of a November afternoon. He was 22 years old, and he did not come back. Past the last buildings, the light was already going, and he walked a route the camp used every day. Somewhere out there in the dusk, on ground that had turned dangerous months before he ever arrived, something fell in behind him. Carnegie was an engineering student from Ontario, finishing a work term at a mining exploration camp near Points North Landing, in the far north of Saskatchewan, roughly 460 miles northeast of Saskatoon. It was November 2005. This is remote country, flat black spruce and frozen muskeg, the kind of place where the nearest help is a bush flight away. He went out on foot in the failing light, along a route people at the camp used, and when he did not return, they went looking. They found him a short distance from camp, already dead, with animals around the body. And here the story splits from a simple one into something people are still arguing about 20 years later. But hold that argument for a moment, because whatever the species, the mechanism that killed him was the same, and it is the part that matters. The animals near that camp had been feeding at an unregulated garbage dump. That single fact is the whole tragedy in miniature. A wild predator that learns to eat where people live stops treating people as something to avoid. It is the same process, whether the animal is a wolf or a bear. The dump erases the fear, and once the fear is gone, a human walking alone at dusk is no longer a thing to flee. It is just another shape moving across the animal's feeding ground. The people at Points North had, without meaning to, spent months teaching the local predators that humans and food belonged in the same place, and the timing sharpened it. November in the far north is a lean, cold season. The easy food gone, every predator running a harder margin between calories taken in and calories burned. A hungry animal that has already decided people are harmless is the most dangerous version of that animal there is. For those who believed a bear was responsible, and one of them was a respected wolf biologist, Paul Paquet, who thought a black bear the more likely killer, the picture fits a pattern that is rare but real. A predatory black bear does not roar or bluff. It does not defend cubs or a carcass. It follows quietly, testing whether the thing in front of it is prey, and if nothing pushes back, it commits. A young man alone, with no weapon and no idea he was being assessed, would have had almost no warning. The injuries at the scene were consistent with a large animal that had treated him as food rather than as a threat. The grim signature of predation, not of a startled defensive attack. That distinction is the whole of it for investigators. A defensive bear delivers damage and leaves. A predatory one stays, because to it, the person is a meal, not a danger to be neutralized. Everything found at Points North pointed to the second kind of encounter, an animal that was not frightened and did not leave. That is the honest, hard center of it. By the time anything happened on that path, the decision that killed him had already been made, and not by Kenton Carnegie. It was made every week the dump stayed open, every time an animal ate there and walked away, unafraid. Now the argument, told straight, because the channel does not pretend. The scene was disturbed by the search and recovery, and the physical evidence was never clean. Wolf tracks were found around the body, and in 2007, a coroner's jury concluded, on the balance of probabilities, that wolves had killed him, which made it one of the few modern deaths in North America ever formally attributed to wild wolves. Yet the experts never agreed. Paquet argued for a bear. McNay, for the family, argued for wolves. The truth is that no one can say with certainty which animal it was. What no one disputes is why it was possible at all. A predator that had lost its fear of people because people fed it. Practical takeaway. A garbage dump is a predator trainer. Whether the animal downwind is a bear or a wolf, feeding it, on purpose or through a careless open dump, teaches it that humans are safe to approach, and the person who pays for that lesson is almost never the one who left the food out. In predator country, secure your garbage as if a life depends on it, because one might. On a lake in the Russian Far East, another man was warned, in plain words, that the bear near his tent had turned dangerous. He decided his good intentions would be enough. They found the tent flattened at the edge of the camp, and Michio Hoshino inside it, dead. He was 43 years old, and he was one of the most respected nature photographers alive. He had spent 20 years earning the trust of wild country from Alaska to Siberia. On the morning of August 8, 1996, that country killed him in the time it takes to swing a paw. He had not been ambushed by the unknown. The evening before, in that same camp, a man who understood these bears had watched one of them and told Hoshino plainly that it had turned dangerous and offered him 4 solid walls to sleep behind. Hoshino thanked him and went back to his tent. The place was Kuril Lake, in the south of Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula, one of the great salmon runs on Earth, and because of that, one of the densest gatherings of brown bears anywhere. Hoshino had come with 3 Japanese cameramen to make a documentary. For a photographer who had chased light and animals his whole life, it was close to a perfect assignment. Bears everywhere, salmon thick in the shallows, the long northern evenings that a camera loves. And that is the detail that was already wrong, though it looked like a gift. The bears at that camp were too comfortable. People had fed them, directly or by carelessness, it hardly matters which. A wild bear that has learned to associate humans with food is not a more friendly animal. It is a more dangerous one. It has lost the single thing that keeps people and bears apart, which is the bear's own wish to avoid you. Habituation and food conditioning are not quite the same, but they compound. One teaches a bear that people are harmless. The other teaches it that people mean food. A bear that has learned both will walk into a camp the way you walk into a kitchen, without fear and expecting something. The salmon that made the place perfect for filming had also made it a place where bears and humans stood a few feet apart, day after day, until the fear wore off on both sides. One bear, in particular, had crossed that line. A bear biologist at the camp, Igor Ravenko, saw what the animal was doing and read it correctly. He warned Hoshino that this bear was showing aggression, that it was not behaving like a wild bear should. He offered him a solid-walled building to sleep in for the night. A wall, a door, the one thing that actually separates a person from a bear that has decided to come. Hoshino declined. The accounts of why vary, and some of them are almost unbearable in their gentleness. That he believed, after a life among animals, that a creature would sense his good intentions. Whatever the reason, he stayed in his tent, and a tent against a brown bear is not shelter. It is a thin skin that hides you from view and does nothing else. It cannot stop a paw. It cannot even slow one. It only removes your ability to see what is coming. In the night, the bear came to the tent. It killed him with a single blow. There was no long struggle to reconstruct, no chain of desperate decisions in the dark, and that absence is its own hard lesson. By the time the animal was at the tent wall, every decision that mattered had already been made hours earlier, in daylight, when a man was offered a door and chose canvas instead. The bear was later shot. It was, the people there confirmed, the same animal that had been hanging too close, too calm, for too long. The one Bear Ravenko had pointed to, doing exactly what he had said it would do. The mistake here was not recklessness in the usual sense. Hoshino was not a fool or a thrill seeker. He was an expert, and that is exactly what undid him. 2 decades of safe, intimate work with wildlife had taught him that patience and respect were usually enough. They usually are, but usually is built on wild animals behaving like wild animals, keeping their distance, running when they can. A food-conditioned bear has thrown that rule book away, and the experience that keeps you alive around normal bears is the very thing that tells you to relax around the one bear you should fear most. Practical takeaway. A bear that has lost its fear of people is not the animal your experience prepared you for. When someone who knows the local bears tells you one has turned dangerous, believe them and put a hard wall between you and it. In a place with food-conditioned bears, a tent is not protection. It is only a blindfold. 3,000 miles east, in the Montana front country, another man met a grizzly with no gun, no warning, and no wall, and lived because in the half-second he had, he reached for the one thing the bear did not expect. Chase Delwo is on the ground, and the grizzly has his head in its mouth. He is 26. His brother Shane is somewhere behind him in the brush, and the only clear thought Chase can hold is something he read once, secondhand, about the inside of an animal's throat. A few minutes earlier, there had been no bear at all. Only Chase and his older brother Shane, moving slow and quiet through the willows along Muddy Creek, into the wind, bow hunting elk. Everything that makes a man good at slipping up on an elk is the same thing that walks him straight onto a bear that never heard him coming. It was October 3rd, 2015, in the Blackleaf country west of Bynum, about 33 miles from Choteau, along the Muddy Creek bottom on the Rocky Mountain front. Chase and his older brother Shane, who was 30, were bow hunting elk. That detail matters. A bow hunter moves quietly into the wind, trying to get close. Everything that makes you good at sneaking up on an elk also makes you good at walking straight into a bear that never heard you coming. The grizzly was bedded down in thick brush, out of sight, doing nothing wrong. Chase came over the top of it before either of them knew the other was there. There was no charge across a meadow, no reared-up warning, none of the theater people expect. There was a bear where a bear should not have been, at a distance measured in feet, startled out of sleep. That is the most dangerous bear in the world. Not a hungry one, but a surprised one, certain in that first instant that the thing on top of it means to kill it. It came up fighting. It knocked him down, bit into his head and face, and worked at him the way a defensive bear does, fast, furious, trying to end a threat rather than eat a meal. He got an arm up, it bit his leg, and in the middle of that, with the animal's mouth closing over his head, Chase remembered an article his grandmother had once read to him about large animals having a sensitive gag reflex. It is the kind of odd fact you file away and never expect to use. He shoved his right arm into the bear's mouth and pushed it down the throat. It worked. The bear gagged, let go, broke off, and ran east into the brush. That is the entire margin between this being a survival story and a very different one, a fact half remembered from a magazine, and the nerve to act on it while being mauled. Understand what happened there, because it is the lesson. A defensive grizzly is not trying to consume you. It wants the threat gone. When Chase made himself something the bear could not swallow and could not comfortably keep hold of, he stopped being a threat to fight and became a problem to escape. The bear chose escape. A predatory bear, one that had come for food, would very likely not have quit. What he was left with was ugly. He had serious lacerations to his head and face, puncture wounds down his leg, and enough blood loss to make every minute count. Shane reached him, put first aid on the worst of it, and got word out to the Benefice Teton Medical Center, which set a trauma team in motion. Chase came off that mountain and into surgery in Great Falls that ran about 5.5 hours and took hundreds of stitches to close. The human head bleeds dramatically and heals better than it looks in the moment, which is the only mercy in a wound like that. But it is a mercy that depends entirely on getting to a surgeon fast, and he did. The bear was doing what surprised bears do. Wildlife officials treated it as a defensive encounter, not a predatory one. The animal reacted to a threat it never sought, exactly as its instincts demanded. That is cold comfort when it is your face, but it is the truth of it. And it is why Chase Delwo went home to his wife in Belgrade, instead of becoming a name on a list. Practical takeaway. Most grizzly maulings are surprise, defensive encounters, not hunts. So the goal is to convince the bear you are not worth killing. Make noise in thick brush so you never surprise one in the first place, and carry bear spray where your hand can reach it in a second, because it ends most encounters before teeth ever get involved. And if the worst happens and a bear has you, fighting to become unpalatable, protecting your head, giving it something it cannot swallow, can turn a defensive bear from attack to retreat. Far to the north, on the frozen edge of the Chukchi Sea, a village would learn what a different kind of bear does. One that was not surprised and was not defending anything, but was simply starving. By the time the villagers found Carl Stalker, the bear had eaten about half of him, and it was sleeping a few yards from what it had left. He was 28 years old. It was around 4 in the morning, in December of 1990, in Point Lay, an Inupiat village on the Chukchi Sea, about 650 miles northwest of Anchorage. The people who found him did the only thing there was to do. They found the bear near the body, and they shot it. What the necropsy and the biologists pieced together afterward turned this from a freak event into something grimmer, the predictable end of a chain that had started far out on the sea ice weeks before, with a bear that was quietly running out of time. Stalker had been walking in the dark with his girlfriend. Point Lay in December is polar night, a few hours of gray at best, temperatures well below freezing, the kind of cold and dark that a person born there moves through without a second thought. There was no reason to expect what was waiting. When the bear came, the two of them split up and ran. She got away. He did not. Here is what has to be understood about the animal that killed him, because it separates the polar bear from every other bear in this series. A grizzly that mauls a hunter is usually defending itself. A black bear at a garbage dump has lost its fear of people, but a polar bear is, by design, the most predatory of all the bears. A pure carnivore that spends its life hunting seals on the ice, stalking, waiting, killing warm-blooded prey. It does not bluff and it does not warn because it never evolved to. To a polar bear, a man alone in the dark is not a threat to be scared off. He is the same shape as everything else it has ever eaten, and this particular bear was desperate. The necropsy told the story in numbers. It was a male, about 8 feet, 572 pounds, and starving. There was almost no fat left on it anywhere, including around the heart, where the body holds its last reserves before it fails. Its stomach held only human remains. Its intestines were empty. This was an animal that had not eaten in a long time and was very close to death from hunger when it walked into the village. Why it was starving is the part that reaches past 1990 and into every year since. Biologists pointed to the sea ice. That fall, the permanent Arctic pack had sat farther from shore than usual, and a polar bear cut off from the ice is cut off from seals, which is the only food that keeps it alive. When the shore ice finally came in, the bear came with it, onto land, into a village, with nothing in its stomach and no margin left. It was not hunting people out of some special malice. It was a starving predator that arrived where the food happened to be walking around in the dark. That mechanism, ice too far out, bears too long without seals, hungry animals pushed ashore where people live, is not a relic of one bad winter in 1990. It is the pattern wildlife managers across the Arctic have watched sharpen since, as open water lasts longer and bears spend more of it stranded on land. Point Lay was an early example of a problem that has only grown more familiar. That is the hard center of this one. There was no mistake to point to, no dump left open, no warning ignored, no weapon that would have changed the calculus for a man on foot who never saw it coming. Carl Stalker did nothing wrong. He walked through his own village in the early morning, the way he surely had 1,000 times, and met an animal that had been turned into a killer by 100 miles of missing ice. The only defense that would have mattered was not being alone and on foot in the dark during a hungry bear winter. And in a place like Point Lay, that is not always a choice a person can make. Practical takeaway. A polar bear is not a scaled-up grizzly. It is a dedicated predator that may hunt a human on purpose, without provocation and without warning. And a starving one, pushed ashore by thin ice, is the most dangerous of all. In polar bear country, the rules are different. Do not travel alone or unarmed on foot in the dark. Watch the ice reports as closely as the weather, and treat every bear on land as a hunter, not a curiosity. 2,000 miles south, in the high country of Glacier National Park, a father and his teenage daughter came around a blind corner into the one animal even more dangerous than a hungry bear, a mother that thinks you have come for her cubs. Johann Otter made the choice a parent hopes they would make and prays they never have to. When a grizzly came for his daughter on a narrow trail, he stepped into the space between them and gave the bear himself instead. He was 43. Jenna was 18. Both of them would go over a cliff before it was over, and both of them would live. Everything that happened to Johann Otter's body in the next minutes came out of that one movement, stepping into the ground where Jenna had been standing. The trail gave them almost nothing. A narrow cut in steep rock, a blind turn, and a drop below that mattered as much as the bear. It was August 25th, 2005, on the Grinnell Glacier Trail in Glacier National Park, Montana. This is postcard country. Turquoise meltwater, hanging ice, a footpath cut into steep rock with long drops below. Johann and his daughter Jenna, visiting from California, were hiking it in the morning. They came around a blind turn in the trail, the kind you cannot see past until you are already in it, and there she was, a grizzly sow with cubs, a few steps away, with no time and no distance for anyone to back out. That is the worst hand in all of bear country. A mother grizzly reads a sudden close encounter with her cubs as a mortal threat, and she does not calculate or bluff. She removes the threat. There was no provoking it, no mistake of food or noise. There was only a corner, and the animal on the other side of it doing exactly what 10,000 years of instinct built her to do. She went for Jenna first. And that is where Johann's decision happened. In the half-second most people never have to test. He put himself between the bear and his daughter. He made himself the target. The sow turned on him with everything she had, and what she did to him is hard to put into plain words. She tore his scalp from his head. She fractured his neck in several places. She injured the muscle of one eye, and she opened wounds that cost him a dangerous amount of blood. He was, by every measure, being killed. The trail saved them by nearly taking them itself. In the chaos, Johann went over the edge, a fall of around 65 feet down a rock chute, coming to rest on top of a cliff, broken and bleeding but away from the bear. Jenna fell too, perhaps 30 feet, into a patch of alder brush where she made herself small and still. And that separation, terrible as it was, is what ended the attack. The sow had done what she came to do. The threat was down, scattered, no longer near her cubs. She gathered them and left. Jenna's injuries, cuts to her head, shoulders, and mouth, were real, but they were far less than her father's, and that difference is measured exactly by the seconds Johann spent standing in her place. What follows is the part these stories rarely get to include. Both of them lived. Jenna was treated at the hospital in Kalispell. Johann, whose injuries were catastrophic, was stabilized there and airlifted to Harborview in Seattle, and faced the long road of a person whose neck was broken and whose scalp had to be rebuilt. A steel halo, skin grafts, months of it. A mother grizzly is not a predator in these moments. She is not trying to eat anyone. She is doing math on a threat to her young, and the instant that threat is neutralized, she is done. That single fact, that her goal was to stop them, not to consume them, is the reason a father and daughter both walked out of Glacier when the geometry of that trail could so easily have kept them. The difference is the whole of bear safety in one comparison. The starving polar bear on the Chukchi Sea wanted a meal, and nothing short of stopping its heart would have changed its mind. This grizzly wanted a threat gone, and the moment the threat was gone, so was she. Same word, attack, for two encounters that could not be more different in what the animal was trying to do. And knowing which one you are in is the difference between fighting for your life and lying still to save it. Practical takeaway. The most dangerous grizzly is a surprised mother with cubs, and blind corners on brushy trails are where people meet her. Make noise as you hike, especially where you cannot see ahead, so no sow is ever startled at close range. And if a defensive grizzly commits, protect your head and neck and do not try to flee. Her aim is to end the threat, and once you are no longer one, the attack ends. Johann Otter understood the only thing that mattered in his half-second. He could not outfight her, but he could stand where his daughter was, and that was enough to bring them both home. Look back across these 6, and one thing lines up every time. The ending was written by what the bear wanted: a threat to remove, a fear it had already lost, a hunger with no bottom, and by whether the people read it in time. The garbage we leave out, the sea ice that disappears, the blind corner on a quiet trail. Those made the animals, long before anyone met them. If you want the deepest look ever written at why bears attack and how people live through it, read Stephen Herrero's Bear Attacks, Their Causes and Avoidance, link in the description. Subscribe if you want more cases taken apart the same way, evidence first. The bear always tells you what it wants. The people who walked out were the ones who listened.
Hey, we need your help. If you've loved these terrifying true stories so far, we need your help to keep sharing them and create new episodes every week. Please grab your phone, scan the QR code now, and tap the subscribe button that opens on your screen.